Your delay was not a mistake. It was not an accident. It was not evidence that something went wrong in your life. What you have been calling delay is in reality a divine strategy, one that is working beneath the surface, shaping you, correcting you, when? And aligning you with a timing that your emotions could not understand, when? Most people live frustrated with time because they misunderstand its role. They believe time is something to chase, something to beat, something that is either for them or against them. But time is neutral. It does not favor anyone. It simply reveals whether you are aligned with your purpose or distracted from it. And when you are misaligned, time feels slow, heavy, even painful. But when you are aligned, time seems to expand, to cooperate, to multiply your efforts. When you have been upset about seasons where nothing seemed to move, doors stayed closed, opportunities delayed, progress felt invisible, when? But what if those seasons were not empty? What if they were the most productive moments of your life, not in what you achieved, when, but in who you were becoming? Because the greatest work in your life is not what you build, it is what you become. Delay forces you to develop. It forces you to confront your habits, your mindset, your discipline. It strips away the illusion that you are ready when you are not. It exposes weaknesses that success would have hidden. And in doing so, when? It prepares you for a level of responsibility that your current version could not sustain. You wanted speed, but purpose demanded stability. You wanted results, but purpose required maturity. You wanted doors to open, when? But purpose needed you to become the kind of person who could walk through, stay there. This is why time must be mastered, when? Not by controlling it, but by aligning with it. You do not maximize time by doing more things. You maximize time by doing the right things. Because activity is not productivity. Movement is not progress. And being busy is not the same as being effective. Many people waste years not because they lacked time, but because they lacked clarity. They moved in every direction, chasing every opportunity, reacting to every distraction. But purpose simplifies your life. When it eliminates what is unnecessary, it tells you what to ignore. And in that focus, time begins to stretch. When? Clarity is the key that unlocks time. When you know why you exist, you stop wasting energy trying to be everything. You stop comparing your timeline to others. You stop rushing processes that require patience. And suddenly, the same 24 hours that once felt insufficient become more than enough. But clarity alone is not enough. Discipline must follow. When? Discipline is what protects your time from being stolen by distractions, emotions, and temporary desires. Without discipline, even the clearest purpose will be delayed. Because time is not lost in big decisions. It is lost in small daily compromises. When? Every time you choose comfort over growth, you delay your future. Every time you ignore what you know you should do, when? You extend your waiting season. Every time you allow distraction to dominate your attention, you surrender control of your time. When? Discipline is not punishment. It is protection. It protects your vision from inconsistency. It protects your future from regret. When? It ensures that what you were prepared for in your delay is not wasted when the opportunity finally arrives. And understand this, when? Delay is not always about time, it is often about timing. There is a difference. Time is what you measure. Timing is what you discern. You can have the right idea at the wrong time and still fail. You can have the right opportunity with the wrong mindset and lose it. But when timing and preparation meet, progress becomes inevitable. This is why you cannot rush what was designed to mature. Growth requires seasons. Just as a seed cannot become a tree overnight, your purpose cannot fully manifest without stages of development. And those stages often feel like delay, not because nothing is happening. When? But because everything is happening internally before it becomes visible externally. The unseen work is always greater than the seen results. So instead of resisting delay, you must learn to ask a different question. Why is this taking so long? But what is this season trying to produce in me? Because once you understand that, delay loses its frustration and becomes your teacher. Pressure begins to make sense. Waiting begins to have value. And time is no longer your enemy, it becomes your partner. You start to realize that nothing was wasted. Every setback refined you. Every closed door redirected you. Every slow season developed a strength that fast success could never have built. When? And when you finally step into the moment you have been waiting for, you will not just arrive, you will be ready. Because readiness is the true purpose of delay. So do not rush your process. Do not compare your timeline. Do not mistake preparation for punishment. What you are becoming right now is more important than what you are achieving. When? And when you align your purpose, your discipline, and your timing, you will discover something powerful. You were never behind. You were being prepared. Delay is not denial, it is divine alignment. What you interpret as being held back is often the invisible hand of purpose repositioning you for something your current perspective cannot yet comprehend. When you feel the tension of waiting, the discomfort of not moving at the pace you expected, but what you call stagnation is often strategic stillness. There are moments in life when movement would actually damage you. When acceleration would expose you. When arrival without preparation would destroy the very thing you prayed for. So what feels like delay is actually protection. Most people measure progress by speed. They assume that faster means better, when that immediate results validate direction. But purpose does not operate on urgency. It operates on accuracy. When? It is more concerned with where you arrive than how quickly you get there. And if your direction is slightly off, when? Even your speed becomes dangerous. That is why alignment matters more than momentum. Because when you are aligned, when? Even small steps produce lasting results, but when you are misaligned, even rapid progress leads to eventual collapse. When? Delay has a way of exposing what you are not ready to admit. It reveals the areas of your life that lack discipline. When? The habits that undermine your consistency, the mindset that cannot yet sustain the weight of your vision. When? You think you are waiting on an opportunity, but often the opportunity is waiting on you. Waiting for you to develop the capacity. When? The stability, the clarity required to handle what you are asking for. Because success without structure becomes self-destruction. There are things you desire right now that, if given to you immediately, would overwhelm you. Not because you are incapable, but because you are incomplete. And incompleteness is not a weakness, it is a stage. But that stage must be respected. When? Growth cannot be skipped. Maturity cannot be rushed. You cannot force fruit to appear on a tree that has not yet strengthened its roots, when if it does, it will not last. This is why delay feels uncomfortable. It challenges your patience, confronts your expectations, and forces you to face yourself without the distraction of constant progress. It removes the illusion of control and replaces it with a deeper understanding that timing is not yours to command, but it is yours to align with. And alignment requires humility. It requires the willingness to accept that you may not be as ready as you thought, that your timeline may not be the right one, that your vision needs refinement before it can be realized. But in that realization, something powerful happens when you stop resisting the process and start cooperating with it. You begin to use your waiting season intentionally. You refine your habits, strengthen your discipline, sharpen your focus. You become deliberate instead of desperate. And in doing so, when you transform delay from something that frustrates you into something that prepares you. Because alignment is not passive. It is active preparation. It is the decision to become the person your future requires before that future arrives. It is understanding that your responsibility is not to control the timing, but to control your readiness. And readiness is built in the unseen moments, in the quiet discipline, in the consistent effort that no one applauds, but everything depends on. So what you are experiencing is not rejection. It is redirection. It is not denial. It is development. It is not delay for the sake of delay. It is delay for the sake of alignment. And when alignment is complete, movement becomes natural. Doors open without force. Opportunities connect without struggle. When progress accelerates not because you pushed harder, but because you are finally positioned correctly. And when that moment comes, you will understand why it took so long. Not because you were being held back, but because you were being built. Time does not control purpose. Purpose organizes time. Most people live as if the clock is their master, as if their life is dictated by hours, deadlines, and passing days. They wake up reacting, moving from one obligation to another, believing they are managing time, when in reality, time is managing them. But time was never designed to lead your life. It was designed to serve your purpose. When purpose is absent, time becomes heavy. It feels insufficient, chaotic, always slipping away. You end the day feeling busy but unfulfilled, active but unproductive. That is because without purpose, time has no structure. It has no direction. It becomes a container filled with distractions, obligations, and random activity. And no matter how much time you have, it will never feel like enough. But when purpose is clear, something shifts. Time does not increase, but its value multiplies. The same 24 hours that once felt limiting suddenly become focused, intentional, and effective. Why? Because purpose begins to organize your decisions. It tells you what deserves your attention and what does not. When it filters your actions, it eliminates what is unnecessary. And in that clarity, time begins to align with your life instead of competing against it. Purpose simplifies time. It removes confusion. It reduces hesitation. It replaces scattered effort with directed energy. You no longer waste hours deciding what to do. Because your purpose has already decided for you. You no longer chase every opportunity because you understand that not every opportunity is assigned to you. And in that understanding, you reclaim control When? Not over time itself, but over how time is used. This is where most people struggle. They try to manage time without defining purpose. When? They create schedules, routines, and plans, but those systems collapse because they are not anchored in anything meaningful. Discipline without purpose feels like pressure. Structure without purpose feels restrictive. But when purpose is present, discipline becomes natural. Structure becomes empowering, because now every action has a reason. Purpose gives time meaning. It transforms ordinary moments into strategic investments. It turns small actions into steps towards something greater. And it ensures that your effort is not just movement, but progress. Because progress is not measured by how much you do. It is measured by how aligned what you do is with why you exist. This is why two people can have the same amount of time and produce completely different results. One is driven by urgency, when? Reacting to everything, trying to keep up. The other is driven by purpose, selecting carefully, focusing deeply, when moving intentionally. The difference is not time. The difference is alignment. When you understand your purpose, when? You stop negotiating with distractions. You stop giving your time to things that do not contribute to your growth. You become more decisive, more focused, more disciplined, not because you have more willpower, but because you have more clarity. And clarity is what organizes time. It tells you when to act and when to wait. It teaches you that not every moment is for movement. Some moments are for preparation, reflection, and development. It allows you to recognize seasons, when? To understand that timing matters as much as effort. Because even the right action at the wrong time can produce the wrong result. So you begin to move differently. You stop rushing and start aligning. You stop reacting and start planning. You stop trying to control time and start respecting it. Because you realize that time is not something you conquer, when? It is something you steward. And stewardship requires responsibility. It requires you to become intentional with your hours, when? Protective of your attention, disciplined with your habits. It requires you to understand that every day is not just passing. It is being invested, when? And whether that investment produces growth or regret depends entirely on whether your time is organized by purpose or consumed by distraction. So do not ask for more time. Ask for more clarity. Because when purpose becomes clear, time falls into order. Your days become structured without feeling forced. Your actions become focused without feeling restricted, when? And your life begins to move with direction, not confusion. Time was never meant to control you. When? It was always meant to respond to the clarity of your purpose. What feels like waiting is often preparation in disguise. When? In the moments where nothing seems to be happening, something critical is actually taking place beneath the surface. When? You measure progress by visible movement, by results you can point to, by milestones you can announce. When? But the most important developments in your life rarely happen where others can see them. They happen quietly, internally. In the discipline you build, the mindset you refine, and the character you strengthen. Waiting feels uncomfortable because it challenges your sense of control. You want to move to act. When? To see evidence that you are getting closer to where you believe you should be. But when that movement is delayed, when? Your mind begins to question everything, your direction, your timing, even your potential. What you fail to realize is that not all progress is external. Some of the most powerful progress is invisible. And it is happening precisely when you think nothing is changing. Preparation is rarely dramatic. When it does not come with recognition or applause, it does not always feel rewarding. In fact, it often feels repetitive, slow, when even frustrating. But that is because preparation is focused on building capacity, not creating immediate results. It is developing the strength required to carry what you are asking for, the discipline required to sustain it, when, and the wisdom required to manage it. If everything came instantly, you would not have the structure to hold it. When, you would not have the habits to maintain it. You would not have the perspective to protect it. When. So what you call waiting is actually the time where those things are being formed. There are adjustments happening within you that you may not even be aware of. Your thinking is evolving. Your priorities are shifting. Your tolerance for distraction is decreasing. Your ability to focus is increasing. These changes are subtle, but they are essential. Because when the opportunity finally arrives, it will not ask if you are excited. It will demand that you are ready. And readiness is not built in moments of arrival. It is built in moments of preparation. This is why waiting often feels like pressure. It exposes your impatience. It confronts your expectations. When it forces you to sit with yourself without the distraction of constant progress. But that pressure is not there to break you. When it is there to shape you, it is teaching you how to remain consistent without immediate reward. When? How to stay disciplined without external validation. How to keep moving internally even when nothing is moving externally. When? Most people quit in this phase. They misinterpret preparation as stagnation. They assume that because they cannot see results, when nothing is happening, so they change direction, abandon the process, or lower their standards. But those who understand the value of preparation remain steady. They trust that the work they are doing now, even if unseen, when is creating a foundation that will support future success. Because preparation determines performance. When the moment comes, when there will be no time to build what you neglected. There will be no opportunity to develop what you avoided. You will either be ready or you will not. And that readiness is decided long before the opportunity appears. So what feels like waiting is actually an invitation. An invitation to become more focused, more disciplined, more intentional. An invitation to refine your habits, strengthen your mindset, when? And align your actions with your purpose. It is a season that asks you to grow without immediate reward, when? To invest without immediate return, to believe without immediate evidence. And if you can do that, you will not just reach your moment, when you will be able to sustain it. Because when preparation is complete, progress is no longer forced. It becomes natural. When doors open without struggle, opportunities align without confusion, and what once felt delayed suddenly makes sense. When? Not because time was wasted, but because it was used to build you into someone who could handle what was coming next. When misused time reveals misaligned priorities, it is not simply about being busy or unproductive. When? It is about a deeper disconnect between what you say matters and how you actually live. Time is the most honest mirror you have. When? It does not respond to your intentions, your plans, or your promises. It responds only to your actions. And when you look closely at how your time is spent, you begin to see the truth about what you truly value. People often claim they do not have enough time. But in most cases, the issue is not a lack of time, it is a lack of alignment. Because you always make time for what holds priority in your life. What you protect, you prioritize. What you neglect, you expose. So when your days are filled with distractions, unnecessary tasks, and reactive decisions, it is not just poor time management. When it is a signal that your priorities are unclear or incorrectly ordered. Misused time is not random. It follows patterns. When it reveals habits, it exposes what you default to when discipline is absent. And those defaults are shaped by your priorities, whether you are aware of them or not. If your time is consistently consumed by comfort, avoidance, or low-value activity, then your priorities are not aligned with growth. If your attention is easily pulled toward distraction, then your focus is not anchored in purpose. This is why managing time without examining priorities will always fail. You can create schedules, set alarms, and build routines, but if your priorities are misaligned, those systems will collapse under pressure. Because in moments of choice, you do not act based on what you planned, when you act based on what you value most in that moment. Priorities determine behavior. They shape your decisions, your habits, your consistency. And if those priorities are not consciously defined, they will be unconsciously influenced by comfort, convenience, and external pressure. You will find yourself reacting instead of leading, responding instead of deciding, moving without direction instead of progressing with intention. Misused time is often subtle. It does not always look like wasting hours doing nothing. It can appear as constant activity without meaningful progress. It can look like saying yes to everything, overcommitting, spreading yourself thin. It can feel like productivity, but it lacks impact. Because when priorities are misaligned, even your effort becomes inefficient. You end up investing energy into things that do not move your life forward. And over time, that creates frustration. Not because you are not working hard, but because your work is not producing the results you expected. You feel stuck. Even though you are busy, you feel behind, even though you are active. And that is the consequence of misalignment. Movement without direction. But the solution is not to do more. It is to realign. You must become intentional about what deserves your time. You must define what truly matters, not based on external expectations, but based on your purpose. Because once your priorities are clear, your decisions become simpler. You no longer struggle with what to do. Because you understand what is necessary. And when priorities are aligned, time begins to serve you differently. You become more focused, more disciplined, more selective. You stop giving your time to things that do not contribute to your growth. You learn to say no without guilt, because you understand that every yes to the wrong thing is a no to the right thing. And in that awareness, your time becomes protected. Because time is not just something you spend, it is something you invest. Every hour you use is either moving you closer to your purpose or further away from it. There is no neutral use of time. It is always working in a direction, whether intentional or not. And when you begin to see time this way, you become more accountable. You recognize that your future is not determined by occasional decisions, but by daily patterns. So if you want to understand your priorities, do not look at what you say. Look at how you spend your time. Because time does not lie. It reveals what you truly value, not what you claim to value. And if there is a gap between the two, that gap is where your growth must begin. Discipline is the guardian of your destiny. When it stands between who you are and who you are meant to become. When protecting your future from the daily decisions that could quietly destroy it. Destiny is not secured by desire, talent, or intention alone. It is secured by consistency, by the repeated choices you make when no one is watching, when there is no pressure, and when it would be easier to do nothing.